I'd say in relation to two captains and the number of years' experience, I'd say between the three of us we've probably 100 years in relation to accountable managers and so on and so forth. Just two questions on one point, and I'll start off with the point. In my years, 24, 25 years involved in aviation at accountable manager stage level, which is the most senior and most responsible level in aviation, because you're personally accountable for the service and looking after passengers and safety. Our country is incredibly well served by the Irish Aviation Authority and the Commission for Aviation Regulation. They're top-notch. They're the best you can get in the world. And I'm saying that from somebody who's on the other side of the fence, who's been, I think, challenged from time to time by you, and rightly so. The level of integrity and professionalism, as far as I'm concerned, is way, way, way over and beyond the call of duty. Just want to make that statement, and that, in my view, should not be in any way attempted to be undermined, because I know it firsthand. Two questions, two areas, one for the Aviation Authority and the other for the Commission. The Aviation Authority deals, as the two gentlemen said, with safety regulatory issues, and both bodies have to, they work under European regulations. From a safety point of view, and Ryanair, just to confirm that you're fully satisfied that Ryanair are fully compliant, that they have a strong safety performance from an EASA point of view. You've no concerns whatsoever. They do operate a world-class service from a safety point of view, because that has come out from time to time in media and so on. That's one question. Connected with that, are there any issues from your perspective in relation to full-time employed pilots versus contracted pilots? Is there any issue or conflict from a safety perspective from that, or have you experienced that in your time? From the Commission's perspective, EC 261, I'm quite familiar with that as well. It appears there are two key areas here. One is to inform the passengers. And if the Commissioner could tell us how satisfied or otherwise, I think it's otherwise, she is in relation to how passengers were informed. It appears that it was very much a reactionary situation. You were not made aware of it in advance, and therefore you were totally reactionary. You were fighting against the wind. You were a little bit blind to some degree, because you weren't sure what was happening. And you also stated that you became aware of a lot of this through the media and through social media on that, which is not necessarily best practice, one would expect. The second area then is an application of the regulations, and you also shared that you had to challenge Ryanair in relation to the application of the regulations on some instances. Are you satisfied, or how satisfied are you with their policy and with their engagement with passengers generally, but specifically in relation to this particular matter we're dealing with today? And what is your sense of the cooperation from Ryanair now? Third question in relation to that, what have we all learned from this? How do you see the Commission, the airline and passengers' rights going forward as a result of this experience?
Can I just do it? I take Senator O'Mahony now as well, and then we'll answer those questions, and then we'll go on to Fianna Fáil.
Okay, well, one of the reasons I deferred to Senator O'Gage is because of his expertise in this, but maybe just a general question in relation to the Commissioner, first of all, and the way that you followed this up. I mean, in hindsight, would you have done anything differently? You know, obviously when it caught everyone offside, and obviously Ryanair suggested that they messed up as well. So is there anything different you'd have done in hindsight, or have you any experience of anything like this happening before? And just in relation to the Aviation Authority, obviously you're very happy with all airlines in relation to everything in relation to safety. And from time to time we see accusations about amount of fuel on board and all of that, and that's sometimes less than it should be. But I mean, you can categorically say that there's no issues with any of the airlines, and I don't want to be specific here because for various reasons. Okay, just those issues.
Okay, so I'll ask whichever organisation wishes to respond first to the questions there, and then I'll go to the Fianna Fáil members, and then you ask questions, and then we'll, if that's okay. You happy with that? Okay, sorry.
I'd like to respond to Pádraig O'Canada that you know, with regard to Ryanair's compliance and its safety, Ryanair are fully compliant with all EASA regulations, and we have in place, as I mentioned in our presentation, a 24-month oversight programme. We've gone from a 12-month programme to a 24-month programme because we have involved in-depth audits in that programme, and this started in January of this year, and we have absolutely the confidence to say to this committee that Ryanair are fully compliant with the regulations as we see fit. With regard to the contract for pilots and things like that, I don't think that's in my remit to really comment on. That's for somebody else to review. However, I don't see a trend or a reporting of events that you know, through our mandatory reporting system or a voluntary reporting system, which would suggest that there is a trend or a problem in that area at the moment.
Yeah, and just to add to what Captain O'Connor has said, I mean, EASA have done lots of studies in this area of the low-cost operators versus the traditional carriers. And I'm just quoting from a paper that said, I mean, they had a comparison of the serious incident rates between the low-cost carriers and the traditional carriers. And they clearly say from their research that there is no significant difference in the serious incidents or accident rates between the low-cost carriers and the traditional legacy carriers.